The following is a Hoop Ball presentation.
Hello and welcome to the Hoop Ball NBA DFS Today podcast. I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach, and I am here with one of the better DFS sharks in the industry, Mr. Andrew Hansen. How are you, Andrew?
Doing great, Coach. This is a weekend edition, Saturday night, getting ready for the Sunday slate.
I know you can't beat that. Everybody's chilling, watching games, getting ready for tomorrow. Got a cool little 5-game slate with a fun early game at 3:30 Eastern, Golden State, Oklahoma. So there's an actual triple header on one of the stations tomorrow. I think the 3:30 and then a 7 and a 9:30 game. So basketball like crazy. I love it.
Yeah, competing with NBA tomorrow or NFL, but nothing wrong with a triple header.
That's right.
You can always flip back and forth, maybe get two TVs going and watch both at the same time.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I'll be flipping all over the place here with some of the games on at the same time. That's been the toughest part with getting used to some of these 11-game slates coming back is you can't, you start watching one game and getting into it, and then you're missing something else, and you flip around so much. I didn't even know who I was rooting for half the time the other night.
There aren't enough hours in the day.
No, there's not, man. That's for sure. Well, before we get running here, let me do our sponsor reads. First of all, our presenting sponsor and main sponsor, as always, is Fantasy Draft. They have partnered with Hoop Ball to bring DFS 7 days a week free content, which I think is the best in the industry. And so we thank them. You want to definitely get to fantasydraft.com, sign up with the promo code HoopBall, and get your 7-day free membership up to $1,000 in contests. We also have some other sponsors that are very important to us. The mybookie.ag, great site for betting sports. You definitely want to jump on there. And our old buddies, Hawaiian Isles Kona Coffee Company. They've been with Hoop Ball since day one. We all enjoy our Hawaiian Isles Kona Coffee. I know I heard last night's show, and I heard you haven't tried it yet, so we got to get you on Amazon and get you a quick box here.
Absolutely. That's on the to-do list, Coach.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, well, fantastic. We will jump in because, again, we're Saturday night games are just sort of all getting crunching right now, so we are going to prepare you for the Sunday slate as we always do. We try to get this out late night, the night before the game, so that first thing in the morning and throughout your day, you can start building lineups and getting a bunch of input towards your lineups instead of trying to jam them in at the end of the day. And then that gives you that opportunity. So that's been working out well. We've got a great response, with releasing the show early. But with that, you have to keep track of the changes the next day. That is so imperative because in the NBA, different from DFS players that play football, baseball, whatever, it's if one change can completely flip your lineup and put you to the top or take you right out of the money because you're only playing 8-9 guys on some of these sites, and you can't afford to take a guy that got benched or scratched. So make sure, as all day tomorrow, listen to our show in the morning with your Hawaiian Isles Kona coffee, get your mybookie.ag bets in, and then sit back and start building your fantasy draft lineups. And go to Twitter at Hoopball Fantasy. All of our blurbing and all of our guys, Miles and Andy, are going to keep updating everything there for any changes. You can always get me at Joe Sarvadi, JoeSarvadi. My man Andrew at Language Olympic, all one word. And our third wheel, and he is a third wheel, a flat tire third wheel. That's at Mike Apotria, Mikeapotria. And go to hoop-ball.com, go to the forums, and look for the DFS thread. That is where Miles and Andy are just hitting that up constantly. So we're 24/7, man. There's no getting around it.
7 days a week.
You got it. All right, we jump in, and I am Golden State, Oklahoma City, man. Go ahead, you got it. Let's hit it.
All right. Well, for the Thunder, I know you were all over Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and he really is taking off. So I'm curious to hear more of your thoughts about him. But he's the primary player I have circled in this game, just really coming into his own. And the Thunder have to be excited about him being on their franchise now. He's a real keeper. The other Thunder player that I'm interested in is Steven Adams. And the question mark here is what's going to go on the other side of the ball with Looney. Is he going to play? I haven't seen any news, but I know he had a flare-up of the hamstring issue. So
right.
It wouldn't surprise me if he sits or is severely limited. And if he is, or if he's out, then who's going to slow down Steven Adams?
Exactly. Marquise Chris, I guess. I don't know, or Amari Spellman. But I'm with you on that one, man. I agree.
So, that's the key piece of news here. Then on the flip side, when I'm looking at Golden State, on a 5-game slate potentially, Steph is somebody you have to pay attention to. He's not going to take this, a 20-point loss at home lightly. I don't think he's resigned to missing the playoffs per the prediction of Charles Barkley. I think he's going to certainly come out strong. But the problem with this game is going to be a little bit of a slower pace. I don't think the Thunder are going to be in any hurry to be running up and down the court with the Warriors and giving the ball back to Steph. So not quite as interested as I would be usually in Steph on a 5-game slate. I'm going to mention one value play here in this game. It's Eric Paschall. I've been really excited about him coming out of Villanova, and he's taken a little time to sort of get going. Yeah. And he's one of those guys who, may be a little bit stronger as a basketball player per se than fantasy, but he actually put up the fantasy points last game, and he had 31 minutes. He went 14, 4, 3, and 2. Wow. So at a near minimum price, Paschall's a great value if he can go anywhere near that performance in the next game.
Interesting. That was a sneaky stat line that I did not see. So, very cool. But, people forget that Chris Paul is an elite defender, and I think he'll give Steph some trouble. So I'm not going to spend my wad on Steph. He's super expensive. He is a hard fade because he's a usage monster for them. But it's on the road in OKC. OKC's crowd is always fired up and ready to go. And I'm going to use two Thunder guys. I'm going to keep riding Shai right into the right on the money train into the sunset, I hope here. He's been awesome. And D'Angelo Russell's a fairly poor defender, and I believe that's who will be guarding him initially. So I'm sticking with Shai, and I love your take on Steven Adams. I think that, so far he hasn't had a matchup like this where he can really dominate the paint, and I think that he will create a lot of trouble for Golden State. So those are two guys I'm going to plug and play in all my lineups. And really, on the Golden State side, like I said, I'm going to fade Curry, and Russell. I'm just not real thrilled about any of them. And, the big guy rotation, If Looney is out, which I'm anticipating with what you said and with what I read that he will be, then I am going to use Marquise Chris. And the reason I'm going to use him is just I got to think he's going to play like 32 to 35 minutes because, the only break he gets will probably be from Spellman. They just, Stein, Cauley Stein, and is still out, and they're not going to try to have Pascal guard, the big. So I think Chris definitely comes into play if Looney is scratched.
Yeah.
All right, man. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Just Golden State's really got to be frustrated. I mean, not only dealing with Klay Thompson being out, but they're bigs. They can't get anybody healthy there. Willie Cauley-Stein and Looney, that's a nice duo, but both of them are either out or hampered. So tough start for the Warriors here.
I know it's easy to jump on, what everybody's saying and everything that's going on and all the chatter and the Barkley stuff and all that baloney. But the bottom line is they just seem like they look like they're packing it in. It just didn't look good. The body language, the bench, the announcement of Klay probably not playing at all this year. It's I hate to say it, but this could be a fade year for Golden State where they just maybe try to package D'Angelo and load up on some picks, maybe even get a lottery pick. It's possible. So I know it sounds bizarre, but man, it sure looks like that's possible,
That would not surprise me.
Yep. All right, let's go to game 2. It is a 6 o'clock, so weird time, a 6 o'clock Eastern start. Make sure you take note of that. It's Brooklyn and Memphis. You want to jump into this one?
Okay. This is a game that on paper, I'd potentially like to stack and get a significant number of players from this game. The problem is on the net side, there's so much balance with those guys on the wing, LeVert, Prince, Dinwiddie, and that's going to be a big question mark for me all season long is other than Kyrie, who else are we going to play?
Yeah.
Or if we're going to fade Kyrie, can we get 2 of those other 3 I just named? Because they're always, much more lower priced. So you can pair 2 of those up and pile up the points. So even though there was a lot of balance for those 3 in the last game, I think I'm going to zero in on LeVert. And the reason I'm doing that is because Levine, as a shooting guard, had such a good game against the Grizzlies. Who is it? Dylan Brooks? I mean, I don't see him being a real defensive stalwart.
No, he's I think he ranked 43rd out of 67 for the whole year defensive real plus minus for last year, because I just alluded to him the other day. He's definitely not one of the better defenders.
All right, so good. LeVert is in for me then, and then Kyrie maybe at 20% of a tournament lineup for me. On the other side of the ball, I wanted to get going here with Brandon Clark as one of my primary value plays on this slate, but news just popped up here Saturday night that he's questionable.
Yeah.
So that throws that one for a real loop.
Yeah, it looks like he's probably going to be out. It's sort of looking as though he's going to be out.
Yeah. So there goes one of the value plays potentially. And I've been interested in John Morant so far this year. Frustrating that last time out he only took 9 shots
he slammed the ball to the
and only had 5 assists. So he didn't really produce. So probably going to mostly fade him. Again, maybe 10 or 20% of tournament lineups. Maybe this is the game where he turns it around and gets more aggressive. But overall, even though I think this could be high scoring, just not a lot of players popping out for me.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. I've got a quiz question for you, though.
Okay.
I know it's super super early and it's a tiny sample size, but do you know who leads the NBA in pace right now?
Miami Heat.
No, it's the Memphis Grizzlies. Can you believe that?
Well, I just looked up the numbers. I mean, the Heat have only played. Well, it's 7:30 Saturday night, so I guess if you're counting the Saturday game that they just played.
Well, I wasn't counting that.
Okay, so because I looked it up earlier this afternoon, Miami was listed number one and the Grizzlies were fourth. But
Oh, okay.
either way, they're both on this slate, and the point is they're both top five. So
Exactly.
so go ahead with your point on the Grizzlies.
Well, the point on the Grizzlies is, and I may have mentioned this on a few shows, but it's such an edge. I want to make sure our listeners catch it is, for years and years now, I mean, since DFS has been around, whatever, 6 years or whatever it's been, Memphis has been known as a grindhouse. Slow it down, great defense, grit and grind. You have the Tony Allens and the Marc Gasols and Mike Conleys and all that. So people always fade Memphis games. Just that, getting burned with it so many times and not having any trust in them. And now they are so speedy, and that helped us make a lot of money in the preseason, and so far this season, because Memphis has been right at the top in pace with their new coach Jenkins and with these new young guys. They are really pushing the ball. So I love playing guys in Memphis games now because they're generally a little lower owned. No one's caught on to it. The pricing hasn't all caught up. So I'm just going to stay right with that theme in this game. I also love Karis LeVert. I don't think they have anybody that can match up with him. The other guy I love is Torian Prince. He's been getting huge minutes. He had 41 minutes in the first game. He's getting all the minutes at 4. Kurucs looks terrible. There's nobody else really pushing him for minutes. And I like those two guys as two guys that'll be in a game that's going to be up-paced and pushed. And I think they're really solid plays in this game. I'm not going to go with Kyrie just because, he is sort of scoring dependent. He's going to get you a ton of points and assists, but he really doesn't rebound or stuff like that. So if he doesn't have one of his explosion games, which he looks stinking awesome lately, but, this is their first road game. He had his 2 home games. So I think he's going to have a little regression. So I'm going to stick with LeVert and Prince on that side of the ball. And then on the Memphis side, I know you were really high on Ja, and I sort of was against him a little bit. And I still think he's finding his way. And I think it's going to take a little bit of time. And I still, I know I mentioned this last time, but I still think Tyus Jones will smoke a couple of his minutes. And, I love him too, but I'm not going to go there just yet. I'm actually going to go with a guy, and I can't believe I'm going to do it because I can't stand taking this guy because he invariably gets in immediate foul trouble. And I've been trash talking him all this time so far, but I'm going to take Triple J. The reason I'm going to take Triple J is even when he fouls out in 25 minutes, I think he can do a lot of damage. Joe Val's still on a minutes restriction, and Clark is more than likely out. I know Bruno Caboclo will get a few minutes, but he needs to play well in this game. And Brooklyn is always horrible against the other team's 4 and 5 men. Even with Jordan there, they're just not good. Allen's a lousy defender, and so I'm high on Triple J, which is terrifying to me. I'm gonna have to take about 3 Advil before even putting that game on, but I'm going with him, man. So that's my take on that game. Any comment?
Yeah, I do like Triple J. I mean, he made big strides in the second game, put up much better numbers. And you're right. If Clark is out, that should solidify his minutes even more and maybe bump him up closer to 36 or so if he can limit the foul trouble. And so maybe in those lineups that I put Jaw in, the few lineups, maybe I'll pair those together and get 4 Js, Triple J and Jaw, and
Oh, geez.
hope for some lobs and some passes to each other for some threes.
Hey, you know what? That's not a bad strategy. I've used that before. Pair two guys together and they just go off. It's awesome. All right, we got a 7 o'clock game, game three, Portland at my Dallas Mavericks, and I've officially refused to ever fade my man Luka anymore. I've faded him a little bit lately because I keep thinking he's not going to get all the minutes, and he's had some good defenders against him. But the man is insane. It's the big thing with him right now is he is sort of metamorphosized into like Westbrook when he was with the Thunder, or Harden, with the Rockets. Everybody clears out. He gets tons of defensive rebounds and then runs the break with the ball. So he's going to get 10, 12 rebounds a game at this, like a Westbrook or Harden do. And then he just sees the floor so well. He's shooting so well. He's just a nightmare matchup for everybody. And I just can't believe how well he's playing. And it's a home game against Portland. And I'm going to jump on the Luka bandwagon. I know it's probably the kiss of death for the poor kid because I've been seeing him lately. But he just looks so advanced. I mean, he's going to be an all-star this year, man. He's just he at times is just unstoppable. He's so powerful. So it's like Harden when he gets the ball and you're one-on-one against him. Between the power dribble to the basket or the step back, you're sort of dead. So it's been so much fun to watch. So I'm going on the Luka bandwagon there. I doubt I'll ever play anybody from Dallas, at least until the All-Star break, other than Luka or Porzingis, because I know Carlisle, he rotates 8 billion people, and I know DeLon Wright had a standout game, and that's awesome because that's very important for the Mavericks to be successful. But I don't trust any of the other minutes on that team. And I think Porzingis will have a little bit more trouble against some of the bigs from Portland. So I'm going to go with strictly Luka on that side of the ball. And then on the Portland side, I think Dame is just so darn good. I think I'm going to spend the majority of my money in this game by taking Dame and Luka. And I just, I'm not as impressed with CJ this year. He looks like he's just not quite where he was. I mean, I know he's still putting up good numbers and getting good minutes, but I think Dame is just a step above. And so I'm going with just those two guys. They're the big money guys, but I'm going to base my lineup around them.
Me too.
Nice.
I've got those are my two pay up guards on this slate. I may have them in 75 or 80% of my tournament lineups. I also pointed out Luka's defensive rebounds, how he had 8 2 games ago, and then he had 9 in that triple double against the Pelicans.
Yeah.
So he's just phenomenal, and I don't see any reason why Portland's going to slow him down. So all over Luka. And I'm glad you mentioned DeLon Wright, because that's the one I wanted to ask you about. You're all over the Mavs, and I've heard you talk about the mess off the bench, which I agree with. But maybe he is going to finally rise to the occasion here and be that second ball handler who we want to have some shares of. So I'm somewhat interested in him. And then the only other guy,
I bet you he grabs a lot of ownership tomorrow based on that last game. And I get it, but it smells funny to me. It looks like, the road runner on the coyote when he sees the big sucker in the middle of it's too good to be true. Then the rock falls on his head. And that's just how this is one of those spots that just that looks that way to me. So not to interrupt you, but I see that one as being just not a strong play.
All
right, go ahead.
But we'll be wary of that trap.
Yes.
The other trailblazer I have some interest in is Whiteside, and big question mark. How is he going to react to his new surroundings? I noticed after the game last night, being Friday night, the interview on the court, they interviewed Lillard and Whiteside next to each other, and Whiteside was really just happy and excited and just sort of a different attitude than I've seen from him. You kind of always see him moping around in Miami, and maybe he's kind of been reborn here. And if he's feeling good and putting up, a full stat line, then I'm going to start playing more Whiteside than I would have predicted.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great take. And he is the one guy I didn't mention that is on the bubble for me. I mean, I don't think Maxi Kleber can guard him at all. So I don't know if they'll put Porzingis on him initially or how they're going to do that. But if Kleber's on him, and I'm going to read into that a little bit tomorrow, then Whiteside immediately comes into play. Because you're right, he's such a weird dude. I mean, let's just call it what it is. And he's one of those guys you could tell if everything's going his way and he's happy, he's really good out there. If he's, mopey or things aren't going his way, he's just awful. So, you're right. As long as he keeps this positive attitude right now, he certainly has got to be considered.
Yeah, and Dwight Powell's already been ruled out here on Saturday night. So, let's keep an eye on Whiteside here for sure.
That could be a great play. All right, we have 2 games left. Just again, real quickly, fantasy draft. Make sure on Sunday, which is tomorrow, but you may be listening to this on Sunday morning. That's when fantasy draft has their big Hooters NFL contest. I believe it's $350,000 guaranteed, no rake. So get in there and play that. I don't play that one because I haven't got a clue, but get in there with some of those guys and try to take down the big bucks. I mean, it's certainly worth it. So we thank them, and then their basketball contests have been terrific. They've had a $30,000 guaranteed pick and roll and a $7,500 guaranteed layup contest. It's only $5 to get in. So you definitely want to jump on there and play that. And then, big thanks to Hoopball, Dan Vespers. I know he's been going like 17, 18 hours a day, just getting all of this rolling with Hoopball. And, it's a big thing to bite off when you start an NBA DFS podcast 7 days a week when you had it 0 days a week the year before. So he's done an awesome job really, keeping all of that together and going and posted and produced. And so we thank him. But, you can listen to us on anywhere podcasts are found. We're pushed out by Red Circle. So we are on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Podbean, iHeart, Spotify, YouTube, you name it. Take a second or two if you can. We'd really appreciate it. Hit 5 stars, likes, thumbs up. Give us a quick positive review. That really helps keep all of our sponsors happy, and we really do appreciate it. So definitely want to jump on that. All right, man, we got 2 games to go, and then we are going to get about our Saturday nights here. We have this speedy up-tempo that used to be slow-paced Miami Heat with Justice Winslow as the starting point guard, which I never thought I would say those words. It's interesting. And they're going against the Minnesota Timberwolves and the monster they call Cat that led me to some big cash money with his beautiful 82-point fantasy game in his last outing. So I'm a big Cat fan. What do you like in Miami, Minnesota, my man?
Miami, Minnesota. Well, let's talk about Miami because they're playing right now as we speak, and they just went into overtime. And
back to back, and they're coming off an overtime.
Exactly.
Yikes.
Sundays back to back. So let's see if there's any announcements about sharing minutes or guys taking the second night off. But assuming everybody is in, then Jimmy Butler's still out after the birth of his daughter, so that usage is being split up between Winslow, Nunn, and Dragic, and then there's also some Tyler Hero interest. But for me, it's those first three guys, and so I'm going to build some lineups where I pair those three together and put Cat on the other side. Yeah. I've been mostly fading him so far, just trying to build some more balanced lineups, or paying up for some of the other higher priced players. But I can't. I mean, I love Cat, and so it's been hard to do it, and I just can't. I can't miss out anymore. So I'll pair Cat with those three guys, and then the one value play here that I have some interest in is Shabazz Napier.
Yeah,
20 minutes. So let's look at his price, but he's getting more and more confidence here as he becomes not a grizzled veteran, but I think he's sort of solidified his place in the league as a real solid backup point guard. So he may fit into some lineups just because of his price.
That makes sense. That's it for those two squads for you?
Yeah, because Covington, he only played 18 minutes last game, and I don't know why, because he only had 3 fouls. So he wasn't in foul trouble. I haven't heard any explanation of why. So I don't know if I missed something, but...
Well, they did blow the team out, so I don't know if that... But still, that's really low. I haven't read anything about it, but that is a concern for sure. All right, well, interesting. Well, this is going to be one of those, you got to put a giant circle around the fact that you've got to read the news on Miami tomorrow. They're on a road trip. They're way shorthanded. They don't have Butler. They don't have Dion Waiters. They don't have James Johnson. They are shorthanded on a road trip, playing a back-to-back. They have to fly to Minnesota for tomorrow's game. So there's inevitably going to be some minute splitting and shifting around in this game. I have no idea, what that's going to look like. The only thing I can say, though, is generally what I've noticed with Spoelstra in the past is when he has these types of situations, he usually leans on his super young guys and his rookies. And to me, that keeps Tyler Hero and Kendrick Nunn in play. So I think, I would expect the guys that'll get a little bit of break would be, certainly Dragic, maybe Bam, maybe Winslow a little bit. So, again, big asterisks on this one. Got to keep an eye out tomorrow. But I'm going to look initially at the two young guys, Hero and Nunn. On the other side of the ball, how do you spend the money on all these guys when we live in a salary cap world and you want to play some of the other big name guys? It's very difficult. And, Cat is going to be the highest priced guy on the slate. And, it's just, I don't know, man. I may very, very hesitantly fade him. I don't want to, but I may. The guy I'm sort of looking for here it's sort of in against maybe your take a little bit is Jeff Teague. I agree. Shabazz has played great. He's a proven solid backup, but this is still Jeff Teague's team. I think that, the pace and the young guards of Miami, I think he'll be able to take advantage of them, as a crafty veteran. So I sort of like Teague tomorrow as a guy that'll be somewhat low owned, and I think may get some good run. But, it will be with tears in my eyes that I may fade Cat tomorrow just because of salary, man,
That is a big gamble.
It is.
We both want to play Luka and Lillard.
Yep.
So maybe he gets squeezed out.
Yeah, and if I can get Adams at center to just, get within maybe 15 points of him, then I could survive that, That's my thinking.
Yeah, and Teague, he makes sense. I'm shying away from him looking at things like shot attempts. Last game he only took 4 shots.
Yeah.
And obviously Cat's going off and gobbling up a lot of the shots. Wiggins has been more aggressive. There were 3 guys in double figures with shot attempts in the starting lineup. Towns, Wiggins, and Covington, and your boy Graham took 8 shots. So there were only 4 left over for Teague. So, he certainly could provide a solid return, but I'm just more interested in some of the other guards here on this slate.
Well, his price has been going down, and he's going to be super low owned. And, I like the veteran guys when they're going against younger backcourts. And, again, it's a risk. I mean, there's going to be some risk reward tomorrow, but, we could easily come on this show and give you the 2 best guys on all 10 of these teams and say play them and feel good about it. But you're not going to be able to get but 3 of those guys in your lineup when you have to deal with salary. So that's what we try to do. We try to be real on this show and say, the guys we're going to focus on as our main guys, and they're going to cost a lot, and then find some mid-level and cheaper guys that'll help you build out your lineups. Because the last thing you want to do is waste 45 minutes listening to us tell you to play 10% of all the studs on the entire roster for. I mean, it just makes no sense. So we're going to keep plugging and trying to find the gold nuggets for you, and we're going to do that in our last game, which is the night game at 9 Eastern. Charlotte and your Los Angeles Lakers. No, I'm just kidding. You don't like the Lakers.
No.
What do you got? What do you got with Charlotte and the Lakers?
Let's see. A bunch of notes here, but the only thing I have circled is a guy you may be forgetting about since he missed the last game. That's Tyler Zeller. He's back.
Well, it's actually Cody Zeller, but if you want to play Tyler, I'll play in a heads up.
I knew I was going to do that. Oh, boy.
Tyler's out of the league, man. I think he's selling State Farm insurance or something.
Oh, boy.
That's all right, bro. I'll give you this one. If it was a Patry, I'd beat you up, but I'll let you go.
So whatever Zeller is playing on the Hornets,
then Cody, sir.
He's the one I want because he missed the last game after the death of his grandfather.
Yes.
But before that, he played 35 minutes.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to slot right back in there. He went 15, 12, and 1. So he's one of those mid-priced guys that I think is going to go very well. If we pay up for Luka and Lillard, get a little bit cheaper with Adams as one of our centers, and now we can add Zeller, then I think we're well on our way to a strong lineup. So he's the primary guy I'm looking for with the Hornets. The guard situation, again, needs to be discussed and considered. Rozier, again, played far less minutes than Devontae Graham. This time he was in foul trouble. He had 5 fouls.
Yeah.
And he produced pretty well in his 17 minutes with 11, 1, and 10. But Graham was real strong again. So it wouldn't surprise me if they split minutes. And the Lakers are worst in pace, slowest pace so far in the league. So I don't think we've got a bunch of extra possessions for these guards.
No.
So and the Lakers' defensive backcourt has been pretty strong so far. So I'm gonna fade both of these Hornets guards again. And for some of the same reasons, talking about the Lakers' pace, I'm gonna fade LeBron and AD again as well. I think they're just gonna split up a lot of the usage.
Okay.
I don't think this is gonna be a high scoring game. LeBron was near triple-double last time out, so maybe he goes off here. But again, the higher-priced guys, I'm more interested in Lillard and Luka, and I would probably go Cat over LeBron here if I'm going to pay up for another star.
Gotcha. Yeah, good takes. And I know, Cody Zeller coming back will definitely help the interior of the Hornets. They look just horrific inside. They tried. You got to remember the other thing too is that the Hornets without Zeller are the ones that Cat went berserk on, and he was being guarded a bunch of the time by old man Marvin Williams. That's how bad it was. So yeah, that's something to remember a little bit too on the cat. Even if he regresses back to 55 or something, it's a lot different than 80, 82. But anyway, I think that will help them. But I'm going to go with my third star here to match up with Lillard and Luka is Anthony Davis. I just think AD, will have his way with this squad. PJ Washington's a rookie starting at the 4. Do they put Zeller on him initially? It just if JaVale McGee or Howard starts, I'm not sure they can do that. So I just like the matchup for Davis. I think he just crushes this group. My biggest concern is the Lakers are going to blow them out. And, that's why I'm not going to load up on this game, because we could see a bunch of split minutes if they do blow them out. But I'm also going to use the theory of the reason they blow them out is I think Anthony Davis is going to go off. So he's going to be my main play from this game. Really from the Charlotte side, I'm sort of pumped because I gave a little bit of shout out to the 2 Graham boys, the Minnesota and the Charlotte Graham, and they both played pretty good, especially Devontae, man. He can shoot it. So I don't know. I'm with you. I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole with the Rozier Graham split minutes thing, because Bacon's still getting minutes. Monk's in the mix. Cody Martin's been good too. He looked great when he came in. They have the 2 twin brothers, and one stinks and the other one's playing great. So who can figure? But anyway, I'm not going to go with any of the guards there for those particular reasons. And I'm going to fade Charlotte, man. I think this game can go sideways quick, and I think they could go to the bench, and there could be just a monster rotation of people. So, I'm going to go with AD on that side of the ball for sure. There's a couple other possibilities. I think Rondo. Did you see any late news on Rondo?
I have not.
Okay, because that's something to keep a big eye on too, because if he's back, that changes everything in their rotation. And he becomes playable. I know that seems weird because you think he'd be eased back in, but he's a fantasy points per minute kind of guy, and I'm interested to see how that goes. So let's keep an eye on that news tomorrow, and that may be somebody we want to look at. The other guy that's looked solid as a rock is Danny Green. I mean, he's just so cheap that he's always an option, and he's always going to just produce his 25 points or whatever the case may be and get it done. So, I think he's an option also. But other than that, I'm concerned of blowout here, and that really just jumbles everything up with rotational minutes. So that's it, man. What else you got?
Yeah, I hear you on Rondo. He's worth considering based on his price. But yeah, I'm just generally going to shy away from this game. I do have a little more interest in AD now that you shared some of those takes. But again, just it's going to be a higher pace with those other 3 games: Nets, Grizzlies, Heat, Timberwolves, Blazers, Mavericks. So majority of my players are going to come from those games.
Fantastic. Well, I think we gave a good, fair assessment of the 5 games, and I think it'll be a good opportunity for everybody to make some money, and there's some value in there as well. So, I think it's going to be pretty darn good. All right. Any final thoughts or comments?
No, have fun. It's nice that it's a little bit smaller slate, so less news to keep track of. But I hope everyone out there has a good Sunday. Whether they, put more lineups in the NBA or NFL, should be a fun day.
No doubt about it. All right, man. Well, sounds great. We appreciate all of you and the listeners. We're growing like we tripled in the first week of the NBA. So we are catching the wave, catching the momentum. So we thank you for that. Keep joining us. Feel free to hit us up anytime on Twitter with questions, comments, stuff you want us to go over in the show, stuff you like, dislike, whatever it is. We love feedback, and I'm going to give you those handles one more time. I'm at Joe Sarvadi, JoeSarvadi. He's at Language Olympic, all one word there, and at Micah Potria, Mikeapotria. And we look forward to being with you for another week of NBA that's going to be coming up here, week 2 already. So we're getting it going. So we thank you for joining us on Hoopball NBA DFS today. For my partner, Andrew Hansen, not the old, young, mean Micah Patria, who was bad-mouthing me last time. Don't think I forgot it at the end of the show. Mr. Apotria, we're going to get you. But I'm Coach, and we will catch you again tomorrow as we look to crush it in NBA DFS. Thank you. Have a good night.
This has been a Hoop Ball presentation.